Hello and welcome everybody to the second episode of Debate Club. How's it going? I am Greg. Probably knew that. Maybe you didn't. I don't know. I'm not your mom. We got two competitors here and I put them on the wrong sides because I am a champion. One second. First off, introducing Carl, who's under Droid right now. So we're just going to go ahead and fix that because I am the literal greatest person to ever stream in the world.
I'm not the droid you're looking for, Greg.
No, apparently not. Now let me bring back Droid from the X-Wing debrief. How's it going, buddy?
Hello.
I never know what to call you.
Great.
There's like four. You have like four names.
Well, so I figure, it's harder to know who I am if I just keep changing my name. But Droid will work for tonight. Or Dan, whatever.
Sure.
Or
Droid,
Diesel.
Droid, Dan, Diesel. I'm just going to call you Nicolani for no reason whatsoever.
He'd love it. I don't even know what it means.
Shadar says, now there are two of them, as I duplicated Carl to get everyone on the right side. So this is how this is going to... Oh, go ahead. Say it.
So you're doing double duty?
Oh, they don't know your last name, but yeah, that's funny. That's a good joke.
My last name is Duty, to make the joke really laugh. And yes, it is spelled the way you're hoping it's spelled.
Nothing makes a joke land harder than explaining why it's gonna. In comedy, we call that the Hail Mary. So this is how this is gonna work. I've got 9 topics for us to debate tonight. Holy hell, 9 of them. Some of the hottest topics in X-Wing this week. I mean, this is stuff that they're talking about all over. Flybetter's talking about it. GSP's talking about it. Those people in Australia, Harry Nick's talking about it. Everyone's talking about all this stuff. Each person is going to have 3 minutes to make their points, present their case, and then we'll have a 1-minute rebuttal from each person, and we will decide together who won that debate. First 1 to 5 and or whoever has the most at the end is the winner. They receive absolutely nothing. I am not that kind of rich. All right. Hey, Enigma Wargaming, how's it going? Let's start with our first question. And I have to export the PNG for every question to get the title to change. So that's hilariously fun. So here it is. Should generics have restrictions? Meaning, should they get pips? Should they receive less upgrade slots? Like, I know some don't have talents or whatever, but should they get less? And we will, I guess we'll start with Carl, because Droid told me he hadn't read the questions yet. So that's going to be fun. Carl, your 3 minutes starts now.
Should generics have restrictions? Obviously, given the outcome of the Twin City, Tri-City tournament, we've seen that a granted very skilled player is able to produce a victory with generics. BA tie advances are all the rage right now. The more you can get, the merrier. Prockets or the Inquisitors with foresight, should they have restrictions? Yes, they should have restrictions based on how many of them you can put in a list. Their restrictions should be weighted based on the number of them you have, meaning the more you have, number of ships, the more restrictions you have. Starting, I would say, at chassis dependent, 3 ships forward, just kind of tapering out, obviously, at the maximum allowed for the game. So, yes. What form do those restrictions take? Maybe you take off an upgrade slot. Maybe you... I don't know. Besides taking up an upgrade slot would be the most obvious one, especially with the BAs. We've seen what a bunch of ships with proton rockets can do. We've seen what a bunch of ships with foresight can do. So if you're able to get a larger force on the board, logic would almost dictate that that force would not be able to be as well supplied. So that is my answer.
All right. Let's get some initial reaction here. Johnny Ray says boo. Or no, Mr. Rocker Crocker says boo to Johnny Ray, saying that Swarm should be limited to the CIS only. Droid, your response does, or should generics get a restriction? Your 3 minutes starts now.
Well, thanks, Greg. I appreciate you letting me come on to this this show, if you will, and provide some thoughts on this this deeply concerning matter. So, when I hear generic, I look back at the definition for generic, and when I take a look here, I go, well, characteristic of or relating to a class or group of things, not specific. So if a ship is generic, we're looking at, not specific things. When I look at a generic ship, and if I start adding pips to it, isn't that like the definition of no longer generic? Because I'm limiting it. Let these generic ships fly free. The issue we have right now in X-Wing is not generic ships. It's 3 agility. The 3 agility swarmy boogeyman is out there. But generics isn't the problem. Nobody's going, well, those 5 T-65s really got to start pumping the brakes a little bit on those upgrade slots. No. I think that if we're really looking at generics, we don't need to be restricting them. We just need to appropriately cost ships where they should be at so that you can fly them, whether it's in a group or whether it's as for generics as filler or whatever. Find the appropriate cost for the ship and call it good. We don't need to have weird restrictions and make it difficult for people in list building, especially new players. And be like, well, if I take 2, is it this? Or if I take 4, is it this? We don't need to do any of that. Just appropriately cost the ship as we discover how the ship plays and how, whether it's the top dog in each meta as points come out. I think we'll be good then. But to take a generic and then no longer make it generic, what's the point? That's what I've got, Craig.
Right. So before we get into rebuttals, I'm going to open the poll. Of course, prompts a thing that I have to fill out. Who won this one? Droid, Carl. Should have done 2 minutes on that. Oh well. Ooh, bye. All right. So some reaction to Droid's comments. Diaticus B says nope. Next question. And then there's some debate on whether 5 T-65 is the same as 6 Barons. It seems that people are concluding no, it is not. But Carl, now you get 1 minute to respond to Droid's argument here. He also used a classic stalling technique for his debate at the beginning there, according to Sub Hedgehog, saying he's stalling for time. Textbook display of debate. Here we go, Carl. 1 minute to respond to Droid here. Your time starts now.
As Kevin Kline said in the movie Dave, budget management is only going to get us halfway to our goal. Now, the reason people are saying in the chat that 5 T-65 is not the same as 6 BAs is the upgrades, prockets. 6 BAs by themselves, probably decent. The chassis is a much better version of the standard TIE fighter as it's intended to be. It's a little more expensive, but you add those prockets in, you add 5 times 6, you add 30 red dice, and you've just got a sledgehammer that's going to cause problems. What's going to stand up to all those red dice? Like, I don't care what you are, how many agility you have, if you get in a couple of those bullseyes over the course of a couple turns, you're just going to be shredded. So I think once...
Yeah, got him. All right, some comments from Carl's rebuttal. Just ban Imperial generic, says X-Wing Tavern Wars. Insightful. X-Wing Blake says, I'd argue that the issue is that upgrades across the board are too cheap. In particular, secondary weapons are too cheap for what they offer. Interesting. Subhedgehog says, Prockets are delicious. Epionic says, make every ship a Procket carrier. And N Handy 5000 says, I think hyperspace is a solution. Every season will have a different abusable generic. Droid, your response to Carl saying, yeah, we gotta limit these things. They're running the show. Your minute starts now.
So that entire last discussion we just had was entirely about an upgrade. So is it that there's a chassis that's, maybe particularly maneuverable and can take that upgrade specifically that's causing issues? Or we're talking about generics across the board, right? So should generics have additional restrictions? No, I don't think they should have additional restrictions. Again, I go back to, we should price generics appropriately. So if a generic ends up being a little too cheap because the previous meta monster that maybe kept it down a little bit, got taken out by a points update, then we continue to adjust points. But we don't need to change the base chassis on these ships to facilitate a meta that might allow a TIE V1. We just price it up a little bit. That 2 points in a list where...
All right. So there is the argument. The poll has closed by a score of 3-2. They favor Droid here. And I am going to show off this nifty animation I made. My winner for this round is Droid. You gotta price things right. I think price is the ultimate of the balancer here. It's not the ship that's the problem. It's the fact that you can fit 1,000 of them in there. With Prockets, like you said, 30 red dice. Not great. The price is wrong, Bobby. Enigma Wargaming speculates that point scaling based on the number of generics taken. 1 is 40, 2 is 42 each, 3 is 44 each. Sounds like a nightmare, but I mean, maybe it's an idea. All right. Hey, Carl, is making toast cooking?
It's not cooking. But I'm not going to go so far as say it is cooking.
All right. So Carl bringing his expert presidential debate technique here by taking both sides of the question. All right, question 2. What ship do you hate to see? And I specifically mean across the board from you. What ship you hate to see that your opponent brought? We started with Carl last turn, so we're going to start with Droid this turn. Your time starts now.
Thanks, Greg, for the great question. So the ship that I hate to see across the board is the Hawk 290. Yep, we're going back to the Hawk. We are going back to the Hawk. The reason I hate the Hawk 290, specifically the Scum Hawk 290, is that all of those abilities just shit on you. All of the abilities are just like, you know what? I hate you. I hate your agency. I hate your tokens. I just hate everything about you. The Hawk 290 with Moldy Crow, being able to carry extra focus so you don't actually have to care about a modification going into the first turn, and the ability to strip your tokens, and all of this is just so painful to play against. Excruciatingly painful to play against. And then, even if you take a look at the Rebel side, you look at those abilities and you're like, well, I'm about to get a hammer to the face. Because you get something like Jan and this Wolfero concussion shenanigans that we've seen pop up recently. And it's like, would you like 6 dice Sure. Why not? Because what I like in an X-Wing game is for somebody to just roll 6 dice and delete my ships. No thanks. The Hawk 290 is versatile. You can have the 180-degree arc. You get a 3-die gun with the multi-crow title on it, which, separate from the chassis discussion last year or last cast, like most people are taking it, so you're probably going to see it. So it's like, oh, range 1, I'll throw 4 dice because why not? The Hawk 290 can be oppressive, and it's not that it's overpowered. It's just obnoxious to play against. So when I take a look at the all of the ships out there, right? There are pilots I don't like, but across the board, the Hawk 290 with its versatile action bar, with its turret, with all of those abilities, the Hawk 290 is the thing that I don't want to see across the board from me, just because it's annoying and it takes my aces with Torkel and makes them a 0. So with that, the Hawk 290 is my 0.
All right. Hawk 290 rears its head yet again here. We can't escape that ship. Carl, what ship do you hate to see across the board from you? Your 3 minutes starts now.
Greg, this question is masterfully asked, and let me give you a masterful answer. The ship that I hate to see across the board is the YT 2400, specifically Dash Rendar. Let me tell you why I hate Dash. Aside from the fact that he is introduced into Shadows of the Empire, and I'm old enough to remember when that was considered new Star Wars, we were all excited about it, and then it turned out to be terrible. Dash doesn't care about the rules. You bring your obstacles. I like my rock, I like my cloud, I like my space junk. Dash doesn't care. He's like, you know what? Put it there. I'm just gonna fly right over it. And when I fly right over it, just breaking the rules that you have to follow, I'm gonna throw 4 dice in your face. Yeah, sure, you might get into range 1 of me and just take 3 dice to the face, but that's still 3 dice to the face. He doesn't care. He's got 2 agility on a big base ship. He can barrel roll if he wants to. So if you happen to get into range 1 to save that extra dice, he could just barrel roll. Not to mention the upgrades you can give him that make him even deadlier. He's got a ton of hull, 2 agility to back him up on a big base ship, 4 dice standard, and he doesn't have to follow the rules of the game. You got to follow the rules, but Dash doesn't got to follow the rules, because Dash doesn't care. Dash just going to go right over that obstacle and say, I'm sure you put a lot of thought into where that put that. I don't care, because I'm stupid Dash Rendar.
All right. Harsh word, leaning in. Not a fan of Dash Rendar or the game Shadows of the Empire, which, now that is a hot take. Sub Hedgehog says, yes, unleash your anger. And Johnny Ray says he made a great argument there. So let us start the poll. Hey Diesel, what's better, an F-15 Eagle or an A-10 Warthog? There is a right answer.
I'm going to say
I could totally answer
Warthog.
that.
Yeah, I'm going to say the A-10 Warthog simply because of its affiliation to G.I. Joe as being one of Cobra's premier attack ships.
Big fan of the A-10. Worked with a lot of A-10s. Awesome aircraft. F-15 is pretty cool too. Different mission a little bit. So I love them both. I'll be a politician on this one.
Gross. What a gross. The correct answer is obviously the A-10. All right. Droid, your response to Dash Rendar being the ship you least want to see. Time starts now.
So Dash, right? First of all, Shadows of the Empire by itself gives me just joy when I see that ship across the board, because I remember how incredible a game it was. And you know what? Carl's right. Dash does break the rules a little bit. But the rules he's breaking, half the ships in the game are breaking those rules now. Obstacles? Who needs obstacles? Have you seen the new packs coming out? There's a ton of stuff in there that's breaking those rules. So, and Dash has the barrel, sure, but he doesn't really have the boost, right? Or anything like that. All you have to do is point a bunch of arcs at him and shoot him. He'll die. Dash does break some rules. There's a little bit of it feels bad, but it's not as bad as that Hawk just crushing you. Taking away your ability to shoot until you die. Not good.
I think that's how death in this game works. You don't get to shoot anymore. Carl, your 1 minute response on why you're okay with seeing the Hawk across from you. Your time starts now.
So, okay, the Hawk, or as I shall call it, the Pigeon. You have, come here. Have you tried shooting at it? It's 3 hull, 2 shields, 2 agility. Just shoot at the thing. Yeah, it's going to deny you some shots up front. First off, if you're a good pilot, you're not going to get in that arc. Second off, it doesn't have that much life. It's going to, as soon as you start shooting at it. Yes, the Hawk's abilities are very good on both Scum and Rebel. But if you don't prioritize that ship and take it off the board first and let it keep doing what it's doing to you. I know it's the first time we've met, and I don't want to insult you, but I may question your ability as a player if you can't identify your win condition right out the box.
All right. Spike Siegel says, Mildew Pigeon reporting for duty. The Atticus says, I agree with Carl, but Droid gets my vote because of Shadow of the Empire is amazing. And by a 7-2 margin, the chat thinks Carl won that debate. And I gotta say, all right, first off, we're giving the point to Carl, but I don't want this to be taken as an endorsement of Shadow of the Empire not being good.
I made him quit. He just left. I win by default.
I think he's just turning on his light. I don't know. Put it in the headphones. There. All right.
We're back.
So we got a 1-1 game.
And I do want to really quick, Greg, just say my problems with Shadow of the Empire is not simply for the N64 game. I give full credit to the Hoth stage of the N64 game. At the time it came out, that Hoth stage was baller. Rest of the game, my critiques are Shadow of the Empire as a whole. The whole endeavor, book, soundtrack, action figures, game.
Wait, you have a problem with the action figures?
Just the whole marketing behind it. It was of a time where we wanted new Star Wars, but that was not the new Star Wars we wanted.
I feel like this might have to be just a downtime with Carl. Why I hate Shadow of the Empire YouTube video. All right, your next question, and we'll start with Carl. Would you rather a strain or deplete? Now, take into account all else being equal, like your chances of winning the game are like the same if you take the strain or deplete. So everything being equal, just what feels worse, a strain or a deplete? Carl, your 3 minutes starts now.
So it's a mathematical fact that red dice are better than green dice. And if you have the option to take a red die off the board, that's clearly the way to go. Yeah, sure, if you can strain something and maybe get a red die on that, that's probably good. But if you're trying to stay alive and you can reduce your chance of taking damage, that's clearly what you do. Like, what do I want to have happen to me? Do I want to get punched in the face with 3 red dice, or do I want to get punched in the face with 2 red dice? It all depends. I know we're talking in a vacuum, but a lot of this does depend on game state. But devoid of any kind of game state information, my answer is the strain, the deplete. Take away that urgency. You turn a TIE fighter into a 1.0 Hawk. You turn, a ghost shot, a 4-die ghost shot into a X-Wing shot, you do a lot more taking away offensive dice for your survivability than you do taking away defensive dice. And that is why deplete is the right choice.
All right. Short and sweet. Droid, would you rather a strain or a deplete? Your 3 minutes starts now.
So I'll frame it the same way that my opponent framed it, and we'll talk about what we're giving the opponent, like what we want the opponent to take here. And my opponent says, a deplete. I say I want the opponent to take a strain. You want to know why? So I can kill his ships. You want to know what feels real bad? Green dice rolling evades. And yeah, my opponent is absolutely right that that red dice are better than green. Got it. But you win by scoring points. And the way you score points is by punching them in the mouth. Get those ships off the board. Improve your chance to push damage through on the opponent's ship. And you are more likely to be successful. And it feels really if you roll a great set of red dice and then they're not able to roll as many greens and you just push a bunch of damage through, does anything feel better in X-Wing than taking those ships off the board when you're rolling dice? Yeah, they rolled a little less. Whatever. But if you're able to take their ships off the board, even if you're just in this firefight in X-Wing, right? Where you're just, you're losing ships, they're losing ships or whatever. That's the most fun X-Wing. The games where we just kind of dance around, swinging wiffle bats at each other, not really doing any damage, that's no fun. Give them the strain, push the damage through. That's what I want. That's it.
Right. There we have it. Gonna start the poll, which really should have an option to just rerun the last poll, but nah, why make things easy on Greg? So, poll is up. Carl, you have 1 minute to respond to Droid's points here. Strain or deplete, your minute starts now.
So, to use my opponent's framing, what feels good in X-Wing? Winning X-Wing. You know what you don't do to win X-Wing? Get ships blown up. You know how you don't get ships blown up? You don't have red dice thrown at you. We're not talking rocket science, people. We're talking mathematics. Although, ergo, we're probably talking rocket science. That aside, you take away the red dice, you take away the chance you have to die. Yes, you can push damage through. The default setting in X-Wing is to be able to push damage through regardless of the green dice that the other opponent has. If you take away your opponent's ability to push damage through on you, ergo living longer, you win the game. And that's what's fun in X-Wing, is winning.
All right. Carl, all about the dubs. Droid, you get a minute to respond. Your time starts now.
Carl brings up a great point about winning. And I seem to recall that to win, you have to score points. And you score points by pushing damage through on the opponent's ship. Strains allow you to have a better chance at pushing that damage through. We take a look at these, let's say, 3 agility swarms. You start knocking those down. Let's take a look at a droid swarm, for example, that doesn't have network calculation. Those 2 dice don't hold up nearly as well. Give them the strain. You want the opponent to have the strain so you can take those ships off the board and get that W.
All right. I'm going to be real honest with you guys. I don't know what either of your answers are.
That's how you can tell how good we are at this.
So we sort of flipped the question.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, you did. And I have no idea.
Don't worry about it.
Greg, Greg, we're taking you on a journey. Don't wonder about the destination. Just enjoy the ride.
All right, Netter says it's Droid Strain, Carl Deplete.
But on the opponent?
Yeah, but I'm so confused. All right, here's the thing, though. By an overwhelming margin of 7-1, the chat has deemed Droid the winner of that round. I don't know how they came to that conclusion. I was confused, but you know what? There it is. I think Droid at one point said Carl was right. Like, maybe twice said it, but hey, the chat doesn't lie.
With context.
With context.
Yeah, this whole debate changes with context.
Sure, context. That's what every comedy likes. All right, next question as I write it into the thing. This question is so stupid. Listen, I'm going to fully admit that, like, I wrote these last minute because this question is so dumb. And we export ENG overwrite. All right. So 1, 2, 3. So this one I think goes to Droid. Start first here. Is winning via points, as you guys were just talking about, scoring points, wins games, blah 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 blah. Is winning via points a hollow victory? Droid, your 3 minutes starts now.
Is winning via points a hollow victory? Absolutely not. It's a W. We just talked about this. Winning's winning, baby. I don't know about you guys, but I haven't had a whole lot of like full destruction games in 2.0. We just don't see it that much. Offense isn't as good. You know, the less mob variance is a little bit more of a thing. We do see it sometimes. I gotcha. But winning via points is not a hollow victory. It's a victory, pure and simple. Now, when I think about the best games I've had in X-Wing, the most fun games I've had, it's those ones where you just do enough damage to flip the points, or to get that last second win. Those games don't end in full destruction or whatnot of an opponent. Those games are typically that I had a game against Muan in Vassal League, and it was a 123-122 game. Came down to the last shot. Incredible game. So much fun. That wasn't a hollow victory for him. It was a fantastic game between two opponents who had a great time playing it. It is not a hollow victory. Winning via points, not hollow.
Right. Mystic chiming in on this saying, whoa, Droid looks like he could be my boss's younger brother. So I don't know if that helps or hurts you. It is the boss.
Yeah, I'm really not sure how to interpret that. So
Simitique says, cowards run, choose violence. And then Johnny Ray says, they don't ask how, they ask how many. Carl, your 3 minutes is winning via points, a hollow victory. Starts now.
Winning via points is a hollow victory, Greg. You have failed to properly show your dominance over your opponent. You've let your opponent survive. Yes, they're just little plastic miniature ships on a board, but what are we trying to simulate? Galactic warfare, combat. Did the Empire leave any, points on the board with Alderaan? No. They just left broken hearts and broken dreams. Little tattoo tears. When you win via total destruction, you have removed any question your opponent may have of what might have happened if there was maybe another round, maybe another turn. You take your opponent's hopes, dreams, self-esteem, and you flush it down the toilet. And I'm not talking about a toilet that has some Clorox cleaner in it. I'm talking about a toilet in a dingy, grungy dive bar. A wretched hive of scum and villainy. When you can do that to your opponent, they're going to look at you and say, that person is better than me. So yes, winning via points is hollow.
Right. Sub Hedgehog said Alderaan did indeed get 200 to 0. And then Zimitik added insta dropped out too. Let's start the poll. Should I just start asking who? Boy, Carl. All right, poll is up. It should be above the chat. You should just be able to click it. You can vote on who won that one, but not before we get Droid's rebuttal to Carl's. It is a hollow point argument. Your time starts now.
So, hollow, it's a hollow victory because you win. I don't need to rub my opponent's face in the victory. I just need that win to get, me by winning by full destruction. Like if I win 150 to 50 or 200 to 100, like MOV's the same, right? I think math's hard at the end of the day. 100-point difference, whatever. Anyway, point is, I still am getting the victory. I don't need to 200 or 200 whatever someone to get the win. I just need the points. I need more points than on my opponent, get the victory. It's not hollow. It's still a W, and that's what's going to matter. You probably won't even play that person again.
All right, Carl. Droid's hitting you with the old Vin Diesel Fast and the Furious. It doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Your rebuttal, your minute starts now.
Why do we play this game? Yes, it's to have fun. Yes, it's to socialize. But why else do we play this game? We play this game to better ourselves, to ask ourselves the hard questions and to look in the mirror at the end of the day and say, was I the absolute best version of myself that I could be? If the best version of myself that I could be is leaving some points on the board and not getting total destruction at the end of the game, then clearly I have a long way to go to get better. Strike first, strike hard, no mercy.
All right. So it's basically Fast and the Furious versus Cobra Kai. I know pop culture. You can't stop me. So Johnny asks of Droid, if you shouldn't win by points, why do you play for points? Interesting thought here. Also, wouldn't scoring or getting a total victory score you more points in MOV? That's a 200 to 0 is a 400 MOV game for you. 100 to 98 is what? 102 to 202. That's 198 points better to completely destroy your opponent. And by a 6-4 margin, the chat agrees. Carl is going to get this point here, which is why we play the game, and totally not because I can't see any of my real life friends right now. So it's 2-2 heading into question 5, which is just what a banger of a question. Probably the greatest question ever asked of anyone. And I gotta still update it. See, the thing is, I can't just type it in. I have to recenter it. It doesn't stay centered. So good. Everything about me is just so great. All right. I think we're back to Carl on this one. Carl, when does a joust become dishonorable? Your 3 minutes starts now.
So, when does a joust become dishonorable? We've talked a lot so far about total victory, showing no mercy. Now we're in a unique position where craft and cunning have to come into play. When does a joust become dishonorable, Greg? When you are the one who should not be jousting. if you are jousting down a ship that just has a sledgehammer of an alpha strike coming at you, if you're a ghost, say, jousting 6 barons with proton rockets, there's no honor in that. That's just not being smart. There's no honor in going headlong into your first engagement of the game to simply say to your opponent, here is a nice fruit basket and the victory. I hope you enjoy it. Honor comes in winning, and the winning comes in knowing when and when not to joust.
All right. When does a joust become dishonorable? Your 3 minutes starts now.
I don't remember anybody ever saying that honor has to be tied to victory. There are plenty of examples, like the samurai, who would continue to fight till the end, or had their code of honor, and wouldn't do certain things because they felt it was dishonorable, not because it was a better path to victory. A joust is dishonorable when you turn away from the joust. If you line up across from your opponent, fight them. Joust. See so many times where 2 opponents line up across from each other, just set up for that just glorious joust, dice off to the death, and one opponent just goes, no. That is dishonorable. If you line up for the joust, complete the joust. That's all I've got.
All right. So, Droid referencing The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise. Carl, I don't think you made a pop culture reference there. You know, pick it up, buddy. Let's open the poll. The Atticus B also said samurai would also kill themselves if they lost, which is kind of like going into a joust you shouldn't go into. You really want to parse it down. Poll is open. Who you got in that, but not before. We do our 1 minute rebuttals. Starting first with Carl. Your minute starts now.
Do you want to be the hunter or the hunted? Yeah, if I line up across from you and I look at your list and I see, you know what? You're the beatdown. You're the strength. To joust you would surely be my own demise. I'm going to default to my cunning and guile and set a trap for you. Is there dishonor in turning away from a joust? No. But there might be victory. Victory's what we're here for. Hunter or the hunted? What do you want to be?
Okay. You don't have to repeat. We get it. Droid, your 1 minute response starts now.
Hunter or the hunted, what do you want to be? I want to be the hunter and go try to kill my opponent. Like I said, if you turn away from the fight, you're becoming the hunted. Fight. If you're going to line up across from your opponent, joust. It is dishonorable to break away from the fight there. Tips, all of these little like tricks and things we can do, they might bring you closer to victory, but that doesn't make them honorable. Like, honor and winning are not necessarily tied together. What makes the joust dishonorable is refusing the joust.
All right, strong words there from Droid. Netter chiming in, saying that is bad logic, Droid. I don't like it. All right. Zimatique says, refusing the joust is fine if you commit seppuku after to regain your honor. So the chat has spoken by a score of 3-2. They have awarded Carl the point. 3-2 there. And now we come to question 6. Just another great question. Really well done by me.
These questions very heavily favor initiative.
Well, you know what?
Yeah.
One of the questions should have been like, hey, does taking a bid make you awesome? Flash, it doesn't.
I just want to point out that the last poll ended with me in the lead, Craig.
I did, but you know what? They should have voted on time.
It was a dishonorable late vote.
Yeah.
I did not win the popular vote.
They had it's the resistance on, and they came in too late to make an impact on the game. So now, starting with Droid, your next question: does not choosing violence make you a better person? I couldn't fit all that on, so I just said cool. Does not choosing violence make you a better person? Morally, philosophically, I don't know. That's up to you. Droid, your 3 minutes starts now.
Oh, Greg. None of us play X-Wing to be better people. But I'm going to say that not choosing violence might make me a better person. In fact, it does make me a better person. It makes me more compassionate. I look across my opponent, I go, you know what? I'm not going to choose violence. I'm going to provide you the opportunity to have a great game. Now, I might not choose violence here, and I might go 0-6 because I'm not shooting anything. But at the end of the day, maybe I can give myself the moral victory that, you know, all my opponents had a great game against me by getting that W. And, you know, I feel better because I didn't shoot my little plastic spaceships against his little plastic spaceships, which would just be the worst type of violence imaginable. So, yes, not choosing violence makes a person better, for sure.
Carl, does not choosing violence make you a better person? I feel like I know where you're going with this, but we'll see. Your 3 minutes starts now.
I feel to properly address this question, we have to take a deeper philosophical examination of what violence is within the realm of X-Wing. Violence is simply a tool that we have at our disposal to engage with our opponents. Does choosing violence make you not a better person? No, it does not make you a better person. So if you choose not to use violence, if you choose not to use one of the tools in your toolbox, you might make your opponent feel bad about just constantly beating on someone who just doesn't want to put up a fight. That doesn't make you a better person. That makes you a worse person for guilt tripping your opponent to feel bad about playing the game that they should feel good about in the first place. If you don't choose violence, if you don't choose to meet violence with violence, you're just making people feel bad about themselves. And haven't we had enough of people feeling bad about themselves in the past year? Come on, folks. Choose violence. Make that other person feel better about who they are and their life choices to play X-Wing. Choose violence because it's peaceful.
Call taking the rare approach of destroy your opponent so they don't feel bad about themselves. It's quite a it's a leap, but hey, you know what? Zimatique says not choosing violence makes you look smart. Is smart cool? Who knows? Sub Hedgehog says X-Wing is noted for heavily weighing. Oh, wait, what? X-Wing is noted for heavily weighing compassion in MOV. So, Droid, your 1 minute response to Carl, that minute starts now.
Choosing violence is peaceful. Quote.
My science is tight.
No,
My
it is
science
not
is tight.
peaceful. Listen, if you do not choose violence, you're more compassionate. You'll enjoy your time with your friends. You'll be less likely to have that outburst at your boss that gets you fired and then poor and then homeless. I feel like not choosing violence will make me a better person, both with my opponent, with my friends, with my family, just all around better.
Right, so Hedgehog says, I think Diesel may have had his finger on the weak point of Carl's argument here. But Carl, we can't leave you hanging in the wind. You get a response. Your rebuttal, your minute starts now.
If you don't choose violence, if you don't use the tool in the box of this game, in the context of this game of X-Men, what are you spending the money on the ships for? You know, you got three plastic ships on the board, between 2 and 8 plastic ships on the board. There's at any given time between, $50 and $200 worth of merchandise on the board. If you're not choosing violence, what are you buying the stuff for? What are you putting the stuff on the board for? Just to fly around and move the ships? You can do that by yourself in your house with the real ships, not just the digital ones. You got to choose violence to make good on your investment. You've spent the money on the ships. You've made the effort to come to the game. You've put the ships on the board. What are you going to do? Just let them sit there and fly around and get shot? No. Choosing violence.
All right. I'm going to vamp and let the late voters vote. Mr. Rocker Crocker says, I think he's trying to justify Carl's point here. If all your enemies are dead, they can't fight back. Hence, peace. Is that the choosing violence equals peace argument that we've been waiting for? Sub Hedgehog chimes
That's
in.
one way to put it.
I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Wedge, choosing violence. Dimatique says, peace achieved through annihilation. Netter says, you should paint your ships. That's why you buy them, to paint them. By a score of 5-4, it looks like the argument of choosing violence is peaceful wasn't as convincing as, the Gandhi-esque quote made it sound. We give that point to Droid.
Wait, to Droid or to me?
Oh no, that's Droid. What you said made no sense. It was literally directly. But hey, liked it. Enjoyed it. That helps. That helps. Netter asked you guys, as I put in the next question, Netter asked you guys, does using like custom painted ships make you feel better? Does it make you feel cooler on the table?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a form of artistic expression. Unfortunately, it is not a talent I possess. I've commissioned a bunch of ships from a member of our community, John Gormley, who's fantastic at painting ships, and I've loved everything he's done for me. And it's a way to kind of customize the game and make them more your own. And it's cool.
Yeah, for me, I don't have very many custom painted ships. I am not a particularly adept painter by any stretch of the imagination, but I've got a series of ships painted, like the MCRN in the Expanse, for those of you who have watched that, from Andrew Pym, Pym Miniatures, and Then Bigfoot and Kenobi from the X-Wing debrief are both getting into painting as well. Kenobi specifically with Legion, but I think custom painted ships are awesome. It's that form of expression, to Carl's point. Like, you get to just kind of grab, what you want and put it on the table, and show off what you're thinking outside the base ship. So yeah, I do think they're cool.
Nice. So we have entered round 7, which of course is the speed round. So I get a call and I cancel the call. Like, I don't want to talk to you. All right. 1 minute on the clock. Starting with Carl. What is the worst thing about Spectrum internet service? Your minute starts now.
The worst thing about Spectrum internet service is that it's Spectrum internet service. I mean, come on. It is so terrible. The customer service, like, how long do you have to wait on hold to get through? Greg, look what they did to your tournament, man. Your tournament should have ran smoothly. Your tournament should have been great. But no, because of Spectrum service, it had hiccups that made it seem less than the professional experience that I know you pride yourself on putting forward. The worst thing about Spectrum internet service is that it's Spectrum internet service.
Right. Carl, using the old "it is what it is, they are who we thought they were." Droid, what's the worst thing about Spectrum internet service? Your minute starts now.
So I thought my opponent was going with the customer service, but I think he was going with internet service. It was kind of hard to tell. I'm saying customer service. You can get a long way by having good customer service. There will be technical hiccups. Every service has technical hiccups, but how you treat your customers matters. David Tuman once said, "Sales without customer service is like stuffing money in a pocket full of holes." That is true. Good customer service keeps customers. 100%. It's the customer service that sucks for Spectrum.
All right. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and give Carl the point. Every customer service representative I've dealt with has actually been very nice. It's the actual service that blows for me. And I don't know who the guy you quoted is, so it holds no emotional weight for me, Droid.
Literally some random dude.
Rando Calrissian.
Fair enough. Spectrum blows. I hate them, but every time I've talked to them, the people I've talked to have been nice because that is their job. So next question going in. I use my expert typing skills that I've developed over a lifetime using a computer. To 8, we're back to the 3-minute rounds because this is actually an X-Wing question. Starting with Droid, what faction is in need of a boost right now? Your 3 minutes starts over.
So the faction that I believe needs a boost right now is, unsurprisingly, Separatist. And the reason that I think Separatist needs a boost right now is that outside of one specific chassis that is broken across factions, outside of that one chassis, we're really not seeing a great deal of success unless you're Daniel Leone and effectively an X-Wing Separatist savant. Outside of him, we're not seeing a lot of success with the Separatist faction, and many of the ships in the faction really don't feel like they have a great place in the game right now. The Vulture isn't really seeing a whole lot of play because Vulture swarms specifically aren't going to do very well against the 3 agility swarms that we're seeing in the meta right now. So we're not seeing a whole lot of that right now. We're not seeing a lot of the Sith Infiltrator outside of a few really niche lists that really rely on the fire spray to be more potent. The Tri-Fighter is way too expensive right now. I love the Tri-Fighter as a design concept, but it dies way too easily. It doesn't have a great place in the game right now, and sort of feels like a misfit toy from a faction design perspective. The Hyena Bomber has some utility, some play there, but again, not a whole lot outside some niche uses for say 404 or whatnot. Separatists did have a time where they were doing really well with that sort of faction identity of that swarm droid characteristic, but has really gotten away from that in recent time with the release of the fire spray, potentially a little undercosted. But outside of that one specific chassis, the rest of the faction doesn't really feel like it's in a great spot, although we are seeing some success with some niche lists. There's a lot in the faction that could use a boost up to really be competitive again. So my vote for the faction that's in need of a boost right now is Separatist.
All right. Separatists from Droid. Wait a minute. Droid. Separatist. Collusion? I don't know, but we're going to kick it over to Carl. Your 3 minutes. What faction is in need of a boost? Starts now.
So, the faction that needs a boost the most is clear and simple. It's the First Order. And let me tell you why the First Order needs a boost. I would like my opponent to go build a First Order list, log on to TTS, and drop a bomb. Go ahead, I'll wait. Drop that bomb yet? Did you drop it yet? No? Okay. Okay, so obviously it is the First Order. The First Order has some great tools in it, yes. Kylo Ren, the Silencer, the BA, these are solid tools. But they can't even play the full game. They have 6 ships as opposed to every other faction in the game that has considerably more. Even factions that have come out after the First Order were already a part of the game, like the Republic and the Separatists. They can't play every aspect of the game. Not every one of their ships is the best, and granted that can be said about any faction, but at least all the other factions can play every facet of the game, and the First Order cannot. They need to be able to drop bombs. They need another big base ship that is a little more maneuver friendly than the Upsilon. They need things that they can build around more than just Kylo. Kylo's great. Kylo's a top 5 pilot in the game, but not being able to drop a bomb in an emerging bomb meta that we've seen the past couple releases, bombs becoming a serious threat again with thermal detonators especially, not being able to do that puts them at a severe disadvantage to the rest of the factions. Now granted, is simply giving them a bomber a fix-all? No. There's no one fix-all that's going to help the First Order, but that can be said for most other factions. But as far as faction that needs the most help immediately right now, it's clearly the First Order.
All right. So the poll is up. Zimatique does say, but the Silencer is the best ship in the game. Does your faction need a boost if you have the best ship in the game? I don't know. Maybe that's something Droid will talk about in his rebuttal that starts now.
So the First Order as a faction has the TIE-FO, which is a fantastic, if you just look at the generic, the base I-1 generic cadet is fantastic buy for 25 points. The Xi-Class shuttle coming in provides plenty of options for different archetypes with the Swarm as well. The TIE SF is another very efficient chassis with the ability to take munitions and rotate and engage a number mare there. The Silencer is potentially the best chassis in the game. It would be my argument for best chassis in the game for it, with probably the best pilot in the game in Kylo Ren there. While the First Order is not a large faction, they do have a number of options. So outside of the device piece, which, while not canonical, could be added to...
Carl, your response to Droid saying that the CIS needs a boost. What do you got? Your minute starts now.
Clearly, given all the variations of CIS squads that we've seen since they've come out, between droid swarms, now we're seeing Zam, Django. We had literally, FFG had to step in and do an emergency points change to fix a part of the CIS because they were too good. If you have to have an off-schedule points change because you're too good, you don't really need that much help. There are tons of options in the CIS. Swarms, medium base ships, a big base ship, great crew. They have upgrades that are upgrade slots that other factions do not have access to. You know, they have plenty of options to choose from on all their chassis. You see something new from CIS every tournament you see. Someone's finding something new to come up with. They don't need any more help.
All right. Already there. So the poll says Carl, but Greg looks at the score and says Droid's winning that one. Gotta keep the viewers interested. No one's watching a ninth question if the game's already decided. I do think the First Order needs a bomb dropper, but I also agree that the CIS, while like they do have some good ships and they have some competitive stuff, like Tri-Fighters need help so bad. So bad.
Yeah, and Greg, I mean, just, you know, post debate there, obviously I play a lot of First Order as well. I think the First Order bomber, like just the ship design, needs to get in the game so we can have the model for it.
ASAP.
It's such an incredible
looks so good.
Yeah, really awesome. So, yeah, agreed.
If anyone in the chat hasn't seen it, take a TIE Bomber chassis, take 2 TIE Interceptor wings, flip them around, and stick them on. It's a sweet looking ride.
All right. The ninth and final question to decide the victor of this all-important debate that is so important to both of your lives. Probably the hottest topic we've got right now. Will the Vader Defender be over 100 points? Carl, we're going to start with you. Your 3 minutes to say yes or no starts now.
So, Greg, as I mentioned to you and Dan earlier, I actually played a game earlier this week where I proxied Vader in the Defender. I used a base point of 110 points with no upgrades on him. I flew him with Rack and Palp, and the list came out to 197. Should Vader be more than 100 points? That is the question, correct?
Mm-hmm.
The answer is yes, he should be 100 points. Having played a game with Vader as a proxy in it, having played Vader for all intents and purposes, I can safely say yes, he should be. Now, the offense on Vader is great. We expect that. That's a given for his ability. His ability is just sick with offense. There were maybe 2 times when I had less than 3 hits on my dice. The deadly thing about Vader is that Vader's ability on offense opens up the defender dial to actually slow down a little bit. You can take advantage of those 1 straights and 1 banks in the Defender with Vader, because you can just take that evade as a natural action if you need it, or focus. This is all obviously game state dependent, but with Vader's offensive ability, you are not so locked into trying to push for that 3 to 5 speed maneuver. An I-6 Defender with his hull and shields, 3/4, that ability, he needs to be more than 100 points.
All right. How many points do you think, Carl? What point total is fair?
Well, there's two things. There's what I think he should be and what he probably will be when he comes out. Fantasy flight games
only should.
What he should be?
Yeah.
I played him at 110 points. He should be within a 5-point window of that, either way.
All right. Droid, will the Vader Defender be over 100 points? Your 3 minutes starts now.
Vader will not be over 100 points. I actually have him in the 95 to 100 range. And the reason that I have him in that range is there's a lot you can do with slots as a starting point to limit his capabilities. So make sure he doesn't have the sensor slot. You can play around with the force talent and talent slots and all that as well to limit Vader's options. We still haven't seen the release of the Defender article yet that may add some additional limitations or whatnot there for Vader specifically. And the other piece to that, understanding that, just as a base chassis, it's an incredible chassis, but it's also a predictable chassis. You're going to see 4Ks or whatnot. While you can go slow, now you don't have that token stack. So what you need to do is stay on target. Try to set up blocks, try to focus fire, and you're gonna push damage through on a Defender. Defenders are successful when they're able to token stack,
stay on target,
take a few shots,
stay on target,
spend their tokens wisely, and they just never give up their points. But if you focus fire that Defender, even if you get in that half points, if he's 110 points, you're giving up a lot. So I think we're gonna see him just below 100. Most likely. He is powerful, but you can force start him for that offense piece. You spend big early on that on a big attack, or if you take the double tap config, you spend big on 2 attacks, and now you're drained on force. Your offensive output's not going to be as good there, and you're investing a ton, which is the big issue in the past with the Defender, has been investing a ton of points into one ship that can't do enough damage to cover its cost. And so Vader may be able to spike some damage early, but he's not going to have that overtime consistency necessarily if he's trying to say he takes a focus token or whatnot, or he takes that evade. He's not necessarily going to be able to keep the force up enough to be able to continue to punch hard, and he's going to be predictable, which has been the big issue with Defenders really across the span of the game. So for me, Defender Vader will be just under 100 points. Team Vader, not Team Dion.
All right. So the poll is up. Who do you guys think won that? We'll get to the rebuttals in a second. A very important question was asked from Jamo. What is your favorite Tim Horton donut? You know what, Carl? I think this might be like an our region thing, but peanut donuts, baby. You gotta love the peanut donut. Never met a peanut donut I don't hate.
I'm probably going to lose the whole debate right here, Greg, because I'm going to tell the people the truth. Tim Hortons isn't good. It's not. You want good donuts, you go to Paula's Donuts, you go to, any number of places else. You want good coffee, you want drinkable coffee, there's any number of other places in this area you can go for that. Tim Hortons is just not good. I'm sorry. I probably just cost myself the debate. That's okay.
Oh, no one who watches this lives in Buffalo. they have no opinion on Tim Hortons, really, unless they're in Canada, and then they might. All right, Carl, you get 1 minute to respond to Diesel's under 100 or 100 and under point argument, and your minute starts now.
So I'm glad that my opponent decided to reinforce one of my points in saying that the ability opens up Vader's dial, allowing him to go slower, making him a little more deadly. We know that Fantasy Flight Games likes to price things to play for new toys coming out of the box. But again, given the offensive capability, I'm sure playtesting shown that Vader is not as force-starved as often as you would think he might be. There are opportunities, yes, to spend all 3 force in one shot, but when you think of how often those opportunities are going to come up, mathematically, it's not going to be that often. So I don't think force-starved is going to be a problem. The fact that anytime you roll red dice, you're guaranteed at least one hit. So, is he going to be over 100 points? Yes, I think he will be slightly over 100 points.
All right. Droid, you get the last word here. Your rebuttal to call over 100-point argument, your minute starts now.
As my opponent just said, FFG will likely price him to play, which is why I think he's going to be under 100 points. One of the reasons. And to counter the argument, if you will, that the playtesting works, Nantex were released with Ensnare. And then Nantex went down in price enough to be able to fit the abomination that was the Nantex Swarm. I believe that Vader's going to be really potent. I believe he's going to be an incredible ship in the game. I think we're going to see him under 100 points at least to start until we can get that good hands-on time with him. People are going to go buy the pack. They're going to see Vader. It's going to be incredible to start. We're going to see them play with the slots or whatnot, upgrade slots for the ship. But at the end of the day, I think we're going to see him under 100 points to start. I think FFG will price him aggressively, and the predictable nature and the meta right now of swarms.
Time. Perfectly timed goal horn there. All right. Well, by a score of 7-4, the chat thinks Vader will be under 100 points. And that gives Diesel the point there, thus becoming the grand champion of all that is X-Wing debate whatever. You guys know what I'm saying. There it is. We did it.
So even though I technically won it on the last question, he wins overall.
Yeah, man. That's how we roll. It's not fake.
If we're going by how the polls ended, I got one of those points back earlier.
I think maybe we should all treat this more like WWE than like CNN.
Because we were both definitely providing our true and honest opinion through the entirety of this stream, and thus the results are obviously reflective of our true
1000%.
beliefs and positions.
Honestly, it's an amazing coincidence.
Dick in real life.
It's just honestly an amazing coincidence that you all had opposing viewpoints for every question. It is crazy. Interesting.
Strange
Weird.
how that works.
I think I'm honestly curious, Greg, if you have the time, if you want to just shoot through the questions, just like give us a quick 1 minute on each one and we'll give our honest answers.
We got like 2 minutes.
Sir.
We got like 2 minutes, so just like keep it low. Carl, should generics have additional restrictions?
No.
What ship do you hate seeing?
That was legit Dash.
Would you rather strain or deplete?
It's that question is completely game state dependent, but probably still deplete in a vacuum.
Yeah, probably strain.
Is winning via... I was going to go over you next, Droid. Get hold of it. Is winning via points a hollow victory?
No, not at all.
When does joust become dishonorable?
When you choose not to joust.
All right, so the real answer there. Does not choosing violence make you a better person? What a stupid question.
In real life, yes. Not choosing violence makes you a better person.
What's the worst thing about Spectrum Internet?
I've never really had a ton of problems with Spectrum, so I mean.
Oh, well, fucking come over to my house. What faction is in need of a boost right now? It's First Order. Everyone knows it's First Order.
Still First
And will Vader Defender be over 100 points?
Order. Out of the box, initial, no. It'll be just around 95, 98-ish.
All right. And Droid, should generics have additional restrictions?
Nope.
What ship do you hate to see your opponent bring?
Anything that beats mine.
All right. Would you rather strain or deplete?
Strain.
Okay. That's the correct answer. Is winning via points a hollow victory? It's not. It's clear. Winning is winning.
It's winning.
You get the win.
Clearly. When does a joust become dishonorable?
I actually don't think it's like just play the game to win the game.
No, it's
Whatever.
clearly it's when you go in for a joust and then you turn away. It's that first 3 forward and then you turn off. That's when it becomes dishonorable.
It was like,
Jousts are fun, but like playing through the game, if you know you're gonna lose flying straight into their buzzsaw, like
Yeah,
that's
stupid.
fine.
I mean, do what you do. Does not choosing violence make you a better person?
Real life, yes. X-Wing's not real life, so who cares?
What's the worst thing about Spectrum Internet? You probably don't even have Spectrum where you are.
I don't, but clearly it's how trash your service. Like the fact that you can't keep internet going for a full stream a lot of times is just.
Well, the fact that I went 10.5 hours on Saturday with not a problem, and then couldn't go one game on Sunday is so amazingly frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely. The inconsistency is just mind-numbing.
Yeah. Will Defender Vader be over 100 points?
It wouldn't surprise me if he's over 100. I really I think I want to see what their article says about him. I think that'll give us a little bit of an indication. It wouldn't surprise me if he's over 100. I heard a rumor that he was play tested at 110 or 105.
Yeah, I've heard that he was play tested at 105, but I also heard that the spam text feedback was like, hey, this is going to be a problem, and they were like, we don't care. So
yeah, so we'll see. I do think it's going to be over 100 at the end of the day, but probably close to 100.
I think it probably launches cheap and then gets upgraded later.
Yeah.
So Carl, I know you do a podcast. Anything you want to plug?
This was a lot of fun, Greg. Thanks for having me. Obviously, I was playing a bit of the heel for entertainment purposes and not that much of a dick in real life. If you are interested, I do have a podcast called The Devil's Due. It is a geek culture podcast. We discuss all things from comics, movies, games, TV, a little bit of pro wrestling here and there. It's located at thedevilsdupodcast.com. You can find us on Spotify. You can also find us on iTunes.
All right. And Droid, you are part of the X-Wing debrief. We're going to go from talking about X-Wing to watching some get played right now over at the X-Wing debrief. Is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah, please hang out, guys. If you want to watch some X-Wing right now, we've got 2 games up tonight. I'll be jumping on the cast once I take care of some family stuff. But Nicole Lonnie's got you in good hands over there with blog, Discord, stream, all that stuff. Military themed, as we're both he and I are military affiliated. So if you want to take a look, spend some time with us, hang out. It'll be great. Carl, thank you very much for a fun game tonight. This was a lot of fun. Greg, I appreciate you letting me come on here as well, and hope everybody enjoyed it.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thank you guys for coming. It was so hard finding people, so I appreciate you guys doing it. If you want to be part of this debate, you want to be Droid, you want to be Carl, please, for the love of God, join the Discord and hit me up. Secondly, no stream tomorrow. I know Tuesday is our normal stream day, but that would be like the 7th day in a row. And Greggy needs a break. Also, Spectrum is coming over at 8 p.m. to try and address the issue for the 3rd time. Let's go. All right, guys, join the raid. Throw up the Ewok horns, but they know what it is. The X-Wing debrief's got 2 big games for you coming up. Enjoy. We'll see you later. I always say we'll see you later, but then the raid takes like 10 seconds, and I'm like, I've already ended it. What? We're just gonna sit here in silence for 10 seconds, and I get nervous, and I have to talk for that whole 10 seconds. Really
love it.
All right, guys. We'll see you later. Heading over to the
Well,
X-Wing
fun.
debrief now. Have a great night.
Damn pleasure to meet you. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.